morning, everybody. Welcome to today's installment of Mike's Vehicle Vlogs. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. It's going to be a hot one today. It's already getting warm, but I don't really feel like doing this. But I want to get it over with. Today, we are going to do the water pump on my wonderful 2003 Pontiac Grand Am GT with the oh so delightful 3400 Ram Air V6 on the GT application. If you recall, in the last vlog we had a really bizarre situation where I was driving to work and I took this car to work, and upon my arrival at work I lost power steering assist, which was kind of weird. I didn't really think a whole lot of it until I went to go to lunch, and when I went to lunch, this car still had no power steering for a moment, and the battery light came on. So that showed me that we had a problem with the belt. I thought maybe the belt broke or something, but when I went to look under the hood, everything was just wet on that side of the engine. The belt got wet, the top of the hood, the insides of the fender was wet. So I mean, something had exploded, and I couldn't really tell where it was coming from. Now, when I bought this car from the lady who had it last, she did tell me that the water pump was going to need to be replaced. However, I haven't really had any issues with it. It's been going on 2 years now with the same water pump. Obviously the car had other mechanical issues when I bought it. The water pump seemed to be something that didn't need to be replaced. So I'm thinking at this point in time maybe the water pump blew up, but no, it really didn't. It didn't look like it did anyway. So with that in mind, I drove it home, and I had a jug of water and stuff just in case I was gonna have to stop. We did for sure lose coolant. There was still some coolant leaking here in the driveway the day that I brought it home. It didn't overheat. It was getting a little warm. It was over the 200-degree mark, but it was still within the safe zone, just a little on the higher end of the safe zone, but it wasn't overheating. These cars typically run roughly around 200 usually. So I don't know. It's been a really bizarre situation. I cannot find out where this coolant was leaking from. So I don't know. The last thing that I just thought of in regards to the whole situation was maybe the coolant tank itself cracked somewhere. That is an old looking tank. You can't even see into it. It's, I'm sure maybe something cracked, and I didn't really notice it at the time. The coolant level probably got to a point where it's so low in the tank that it's not really at the crack anymore. Kind of similar to what the situation we have with my sister's Fiesta. Had the same issue with coolant loss and such. So I kind of wonder if maybe there's a crack and maybe it sprayed coolant onto the belt, and that's kind of what caused everything to go a little funky. I thought the water pump was making noise. However, I come to find out it's actually the AC compressor making noise when the compressor's not on. I'm going to play it safe today. We're just going to change the water pump. And while I'm at it, I did go to the junkyard the other day, and I found another tank to put in here. It looks a little bit better than the one that's in here now. Even the cap feels different. The cap feels a lot better going, on and off. So we're going to get rid of the tank here on this. We're going to replace the water pump. I'm going to get a new belt also. And what else? Obviously, we're going to have to add some more coolant. I'm just going to buy universal pre-mixed coolant because we're not really, I don't think, going to drain the whole system. I don't think we're going to lose all that much. We might. I don't know. But we'll get some coolant also. And I don't know. This should be somewhat of a fairly simple process from my understanding. The water pump is easily accessible on this vehicle, on this engine, and I just hope we don't run into any, you know, any hiccups along the way as far as like broken bolts or something, because then we're gonna have a big problem on our hands. So yeah, not only am I replacing that stuff today for the Grand Am, but I also have to replace a battery for the Civic. The Civic battery is failing, and it is the original battery from the factory, so about 5 years old now. The car actually died on me the other day when I was at lunch at work, and I had to use a jump pack to get it started. Now I haven't had to jump it since, but the cranking on that thing has been very slow. So I have to also go to my Honda dealership and buy a battery. Wasn't expecting that one, I'll tell you. Alright, speaking of battery, my camera didn't charge. Great. This is kind of going to be a two-parter anyway, so not a two-part like video, but I'm going to do half of this now, and then I'm going to do the other half later. So we're going to take everything apart under the hood now, and then, you know, I'm going to clean up. I got other things I got to do this afternoon. And then we'll come back to putting everything back together once I get the water pump, and I got the tank, and yeah, so it's going to be a crazy day, and it's going to get hot. I'm not looking forward to the heat. If only I had the car facing the other way, then I wouldn't be in the path of the sun. So there's our water pump right there on this engine. Like I said, this really shouldn't be too bad a process here. Like I said, we're getting rid of this tank also. Here's the one that I found. It was, I think, off of an 04 and 05 Grand Am. It does, you know, it still looks kind of cloudy. I gotta clean it out yet. It still had some Dex Cool in it. Oh, yeah, see? But you can actually see, if we put a light to it, you can see through it, whereas this one, I can put a light to it all I want and I'm not seeing anything. But hopefully this will be better without any issues. I won't get rid of this one just in case. This hose doesn't go there. This hose, I just stuck it on there so I wouldn't lose it. That hose is this hose. This hose does not look all that good. It is very soft and very bumpy looking, so it's probably going to explode at any time. So I did find another one that looks like it's in better shape. It doesn't have any weird bumps or anything. It looks like a hose. So I think what I'm going to start off with is the system's going to have to be somewhat drained anyway. Like I said, I'm going to try not to drain the whole system, but that's no guarantee that you know, we're probably going to end up losing quite a bit. So if we were to do it the right way, it'd be with the radiator petcock. But when I did the intake job and did all the coolant flushing, then couldn't get that thing loose. So we had to loosen up some hoses. I'm probably not going to do it, you know, by the book. So I'm thinking, because this thing's got to come out anyway, I'm just going to loosen that hose. And this will obviously drain all of the reservoir out. And I'm sure it might push other fluid through, perhaps, you know. Obviously, don't do this when the engine's hot. This car has not been started today at all, so everything is nice and cold. Yeah, so I'm just going to take it off from this end. I have my basin down there. There's no guarantee that it's actually going to go all the way into it, but try to catch as much coolant as you can. you don't want to kill any bunnies or anything. And I got a jug in the car for water. I'm just, gonna obviously flush everything else off. Sounds like it's going into the basin. If we loosen the cat, maybe we'll get more out of that. Yeah, there we go. Yay. I tried washing this bottle off as best as I could when I did the original job. I don't see any coolant. I think I did pretty good. Okay, so now we need our socket or ratchet, and oh, nice. We're going to need this 10, and I'm going to use an extension. Because there's one bolt holding this tank on. And it's a 10 that's right here. And then there's the plug for the coolant sensor, the level sensor. Don't forget to unplug that. Try to keep that out of the way of coolant dripping on it. And then you're going to try to wedge this through the body. So what you kind of have to do is, I'm going to need 2 hands to do it, but get like a flathead or something to kind of pry this out. Then you can work that little tab in there out, and then it's free. Just like that. Wow, there's a lot of nasty stuff that ended back up in that system. I tried flushing the system out as best as I could. I mean, there was chocolate milk everywhere in this car when I bought it. Try to... Oh yeah. Let's loosen up our water pump bolts now. There we go. Get out. One more. There we go. All right. All right, so all 4 of them are loose. So I got my belt tensioner tool. So we're going to shove this into the tensioner. If I could do it one-handed. So we're just going to pry back the tensioner as such. And with our other hand, we can start taking the belt off. As such. Now we can take the rest of these 4 bolts out here and not drop them. I need to get a dish for home. I bought dishes for like bolts and stuff for work. They've been very nice. I need to get some for home. One more. That's it. Alright. There it goes. Alright. It's not as bad looking on the inside as I was expecting for it to be. The outside looks awful. Wonder if I could take this to when I go to work to get the battery for the Honda. Maybe I'll use the wire machine. And here's our water pump. So there's, what are those, 7s or 8s, I'm assuming. We're gonna have to take this guy off too, and I'm kind of afraid to take that guy off. Only because when I did it on the Aztec, it broke. There. It's tight, but it's not breaking. Sheesh. There we go. Alright, and these are 8s. Now, we're going to have to kind of knock it off, I think. Oh, there we go. Alright, and, yeah, it don't look terrible, but it's definitely rusting. Yeah, so there's the water pump. I think over time on these particular ones, the fins will start to break off, if I'm not mistaken. I expected it to look a little worse, but it really doesn't look all that bad. But I don't know, I feel better changing it anyway, you know. The gasket's stuck to the block. Oh yeah, gotta get some cleaning. Yeah, it's really not as bad looking in there as I was imagining. There's really no large chunks of anything. So I mean, that's good. Alright, and since the water pump pretty much drained everything else out from the top half, I got our hose off. Here it is. Yeah, that thing was not looking good. It's got like a weird squishy spot here, so glad I noticed that. The one that's over here does not have that weird looking spot. So we're just going to use this one. It looks a lot better. That thing's on. I just put this here because I didn't want any coolant to mess up the paint job. But yeah, so that hose is on there. I got the clamps to actually sit in the same spot that the other ones did, so hopefully that'll be okay. I guess we'll find out once it's running. Alright, cool. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is the camera battery's going to die. I'm going to start cleaning up the surface, getting the rest of the gasket and stuff off here. And then that's it. We're going to head out and go get the battery for the Honda and the rest of the stuff for this. And then we can finish this up and see how it acts. Safety first. Alright, so this is probably the best that I can do. It's not perfect, it's a little pitted, but I mean, for the most part, it's definitely looking a lot better. Now, I could always buy another one of these, but they're still around 40-50 bucks. I'm not going to spend that much for this. So I also did the inside, took the paint off, but that's okay. We just wanted to make sure that all the rust on the inside where the water pump's going to be sitting up against this is gone. I still have to clean up the inside here. A little bit of it came off, but that's kind of hard to do with that wire wheel, so I'll have to do it by hand with like a piece of sandpaper or something, just kind of get the rest of the rust out of here. Okay, so we ended up getting our water pump from Napa, not a sponsor. A belt. I am replacing the belt, which is why I want to kind of try to get all the pulleys and stuff free of any oil. So we're doing a belt. I bought 2 gallons of extended life pre-diluted coolant. This is Napa's Universal. It's got like a yellow to it, but it is safe for all makes and models. Add to any color antifreeze. So this will be fine. I don't know if I'm going to need all 2 gallons, but I bought 2 just in case. Aside from that, we also got our water pump gasket, which is a paper gasket apparently, and gasket maker, which is what we're going to use to adhere it to the engine. So yeah, on top of that, like I said, I got some brake clean there, and I'm going to end up spraying all of these pulleys and stuff, trying to get all the oil and old coolant off of them. You can kind of see on the alternator how it all kind of built up on the bottom there. So I mean, whatever was splashing up that day really caked on in some spots. So before I left earlier, the sun is still really hot. I did clean up the surface there of the water pump. I'll wipe it down one more time, but we used a blade obviously to get the rest of the gasket off, and then I very carefully found one of the old sanding blocks that I have, and I just carefully, you know, nice and light over top of it until it looked like there was nothing else there. It's all really smooth. So the new gasket is, or the new water pump, trains here, is ready to go on. It's funny, I don't think anybody noticed this. Anyway, here's our new pump. We'll do a side by side once it's out of the plastic. This thing came with the gasket. They told me the gasket was not included, so they didn't have any more, and I had to go elsewhere to get a gasket that apparently I don't need now, because now this one has one. Oh man. It also comes with new bolts also. Awesome. So we do not have to reuse these bolts. I don't know if they all do that, but in this case we don't have to reuse those bolts. I can't believe that. Ugh. I almost feel like using the Felpro one, honestly, because it's Felpro. Every other gasket that I've had to do to this engine is Felpro now, so I don't know, it was $5. Maybe we'll use that. Maybe we'll just hang on to this one, I guess. But that's weird. Does it even say it anywhere? Because they told me the gasket did not come with it. Replacement gaskets included. You gotta be kidding me. How nice. And of course this one spins really nice. This one, I don't know, it didn't feel like there was anything really wrong with it as far as spinning. Yeah, I mean, it still feels like it was pretty good, but judging from the looks of this, I'm kind of glad that we're in the process of changing this. Okay, so that was quite a challenge with the little tube. I applied some of the gasket maker all around this, and now we just have to open that gasket up and put it on there. And then we're going to do the same to the engine side of that as well. You don't want to put too much on there. Hopefully that's alright. You put too much on there, it can possibly cause, you know, cooling system issues, because it's gonna get in everywhere and you don't want that. Well, hopefully I didn't mess that up, because as I was pushing it down, it obviously was too much, and now it's everywhere. Also, keep in mind the holes have to line up a certain way, so I had to rotate the gasket a few times before all the holes were actually lined up and visible. And yeah, so now I got to do this to the engine side. So that was a little easier when it came to the block. I just, you know, started putting it on there, and then used my finger to kind of wipe it, you know, across, and then I kind of dug it out of the threads. Obviously, we don't want to stick into the threads, so I kind of picked in there, got all the threads cleared out as best I could, and now we're just ready to put it in there. And then, like I said, it's got to be a certain way, so this might take a few tries. Alright, so what I did was I put the water pump in. This little arrow here at the top, I assumed probably meant this was the pattern, and then I just took the new bolts and, you know, put them in by hand like this, just to make sure all of the threads were there, and sure enough, everything is where it needs to be. So I pushed the pump in a little further so it's tied up against the engine, and then now we're just going to tighten these down and let it sit for a little while we kind of throw everything else back together. These have a torque spec of 89 inch-pounds. I don't have a torque wrench here for inch-pounds. It converts to about 7 foot-pounds if I wanted to use my big torque wrench, which I did bring out here, but don't know how accurate that would be at 7 foot-pounds. It might be okay, but I'll just do my best to snug them up. We obviously don't want to over-tighten it, because that's aluminum. It's really easy to strip out. And then we have a bigger problem. Then we got to find a whole front engine cover. Alright, so what I did here was I tightened all of the bolts in a star pattern, since there's 5 bolts. Just tightened them with the ratchet. I do have my torque wrench here, and like I said, 89 inch-pounds converts to 7 foot-pounds, so we're going to set this to 7, lock it in there, and we'll just make sure, see if we get this to click. So we'll just do the same thing. Since it's a longer torque wrench, we're going to be careful. We shouldn't have to apply anything to it really if it's going to be right. So 7 foot-pounds, here we go. Oh, alright, 1 click, 2 click. Where's this bottom one at? Move this over a little bit here. Come on. Oh, I know you're there. Oh, there we go, there we go, okay. Alright, 3 click. 4. And 5. Cool. So one day I'll get a correct torque wrench, but for inch-pounds, but that should be good. We should be good. All right, so now while that's drying, what we're going to do now is we're going to go get the puny little jack, and we have to get under the engine and get ready to support the engine, because this mount's going to come out for us to do this belt change. So like I said, while that's drying, we'll let that do its thing, and that'll give us time to get rid of this old belt, give me time to spray the pulleys with some brake clean, try to get as much grime and oil off. We can start fitting the new belt around, and then get our motor mount back on and go from there. 15 and 18. Oh, that jack sucks. I really need to get another jack. We're taking the actual rubber piece off of the body here too, because the actual jack is, or the mount to the engine, still up against it. Those are also 15mm bolts. There we go. Now this old belt can come out. Yeah, this belt probably should have been replaced a long time ago when I did the original work to the engine. You can see how glossy it is. Something as simple as the belt slipping, very little could have caused all the issues the other day. But it's very glossy on the top. It's definitely got a lot of cracks throughout it too, so. Alright, new belt is around. It's not on yet, obviously. Let's get this engine back up to where it needs to be. Alright, so now we're going to put the pulley on the new water pump. It's got to line up the holes, obviously. There we go. Now, we obviously didn't get new bolts for these, so we have to reuse the old ones. And we're just going to put them in like so, because we can't tighten them up until the belt's on. One more. There we go. Alright, so once you get your diagram back on, you can route the belt like it says there on the diagram. I honestly kind of have this diagram memorized, so I could do this in my sleep if I had to. So, over the alternator, under that pulley, around the top of the power steering, runs underneath the water pump, then down to the side and underneath the AC compressor, down around the crank, comes up around that pulley there, and then underneath the tensioner, then back to the alternator. Cool. Alright, I gotta step inside for a moment, take a break. I'm dying out here. So when we come back out, we'll put our new bottle in, and then we can go ahead and start filling it up with coolant. And pray that there's no leaks coming from that water pump. So yeah, I'll be right back. Alright, and we're back. So, now that we have the belt on here, we have to actually torque our pulley down. This needs to be torqued down to 18 foot-pounds. Alright, so now we're going to torque it to 18 foot-pounds. I've had a habit of not hitting record lately. I don't know why. I didn't catch myself that time. It's bottle time. So I had the bottle to the basement. I flushed everything out of it. So now we just have to install it. So I got that part into the body. I'm getting ready to tighten this 10mm bolt. Don't forget to plug in your sensor. Hopefully that sensor works, because I hate to have to try and get that out. Making a mess everywhere. Where's my extension? Okay, taking this thing down. I guess I could have used my impact, but I'm so used to not using the impact at home, so we'll just do it old school. All the water pump pulley bolts are tightened to 18. Alright, so now we can take our radiator hose, push that guy on. Lower hose, upper hose. Right, and at this time everything is hooked up. So we got our hose clamps there. We got the lower hose there. Water pump is installed tight, hopefully dry. Pulley is tight also. Our new hose here is on and clamped. Belt, new belt in place. And that's it. We should be good. So what I'm going to do is we're going to do the bleeder method with the coolant again. I'm going to fill up the tank first though. We're going to open the bleeder and we're going to squeeze the radiator hose and we'll just keep filling the tank. I could do it with the bottle. I'm probably going to end up doing it with the bottle once we're getting ready to run it, because I don't know, it makes it kind of easier that way. It's a cool trick and it helps bring this part here to the highest part of the cooling system, so it's just kind of easier that way. We might get coolant everywhere again, but that's okay, we got water. But no, so yeah, we'll fill up the tank first. We'll wait to get the coolant coming out of here, but I'm sure once it's running we're gonna end up getting low, and we'll see where it goes. So let's go get a funnel and we'll dump the coolant to the cold mark. Okay, first thing I'm gonna do is open this bleeder very carefully because they get very sensitive over time. So that's open. Okay, we'll actually be able to see in this bottle this time. Can we see? Is it in there? I can see it. Nice. It helps. Oh, hey, we're getting somewhere. All right, that bottle filled up pretty good. So you can see we got coolant coming out of the bleeder now, so we're getting somewhere. I really didn't want that all over my... It's gonna take the paint off my valve cover. Alright, so now we're gonna do the bottle trick. I'm gonna have to mangle the bottle a little bit. But this little trick has done me wonders with the Aztec and this car originally. Okay, so that's on there pretty good now. So now we're going to take some coolant and we're going to dump it in here. And now we're going to squeeze this. We still have bubbles, So once all the air is out, we won't have bubbles anymore. We will just have the coolant rising and falling. It might still be sucking out of the tank, and I think it is. It sounds like it might be empty already. Maybe a little bit. So you can actually see the level moving in the tank. It's around the cold mark still, so that's good. And there's not a whole lot of bubbles right now coming out of the bleeders. So for the most part, this is probably just about done. Tight. That cap is so much better than the other one. And I didn't see anything leaking. The bottle here is kind of, you know, leaking a little bit, but I'm not worried about that. Alright, so everything's set, everything's tight. Let's go ahead and start it up. Alright, here we go. So, of course, of all days, we need to have some heat going to help lead the air out of the cooling system. I think we're good so far. I mean, the belt looks good. The pulley looks funny, but that's just because of the way I had to sand it down. I don't see any leaks coming from behind the water pump. Like I said, this doesn't count because that's from this. See how we have stuff coming out of the bleeder there? That's still in the cold spot, so that's good. It won't take long for this car to heat up for that thermostat to open. I know that for a fact. Alright, so we'll just give it some time and we'll see what happens. Obviously, we should have heat inside if everything's bled out correctly as well. Pretty sure that's rising, so chances are the air is probably already out of the system. So we'll probably get to a point where we're going to close that off before we take that bottle out. Wish I had like a little suction thingy, but I don't. She's been on for like, what, 3 minutes and it's already over 100. It does not take long for this engine to warm up at all. I'm gonna have to close that, I think. It's gonna make a huge mess everywhere. Alright, tighten this up a little bit. go. Alright, so I pulled the thing off of the bleeder valve there, and of course coolant went all over the place. Didn't never think things through. So of course I got on the belt and all that stuff. But I just poured a bunch of water everywhere. You know, belt was squeaking a little bit. Belt's not squeaking now. Thermostat should be open. Yeah, I mean, it feels like I got heat. I mean, it's hard to tell when it's so hot outside, but we got that. So it's at the point where the thermostat should be getting ready to open. So yeah. If it is, the system should be good to go. Oh, there we go. See, it's spraying. Oh. All right, so there shouldn't be any error. It should be done. It should be good. That should be the end of that again. I know. Alright, it's been a long while now. That seems to be sitting better around the 200 mark. Now remember in the last vlog, oh hello. In the last vlog, it was, like I was saying, on the higher end of the safe zone. So far, this appears to be dead on, so. And everything dried for the most part under here because the heat, I don't see anything else leaking. It actually sounds pretty good. I don't know what it's going to sound like when I turn the defrost off because of the AC compressor. It's time to change a battery. I already disconnected it. These come with 410 cold crank amp batteries. When I tested it at work the day that it died on me, it was putting out about 120. And after sitting, the voltage was down to 10.5 or something like that. So it is time to put the replacement in, which is a 500 cold crank amp battery from Honda. It's an SR, which one is it? 51R series, but it's an SR1 part from Honda. So we got that done. We need to undo the bracket. I'm gonna do this side. It's got the smaller hook on it. It's easier to get back in. Even though they both come undone anyway, it doesn't really matter. Don't want to lose that nut there. Wiggle it out of the way. There we go. You can usually pick these up with one hand if it doesn't get stuck on anything. Yeah, there we go. And these things are always loose. They're really funky. There. Now it kind of goes into place, but it doesn't stay in place. It's a really weird tray. Let's get our insulator. Might need 2 hands for this because that tray is going to move, but kind of get it to sit in there. Oh, kind of like that. Insulator's up a little high. I might have to fix that. All right, that's as good as that's going to get. Need to loosen this one up a little bit. It's going to be a little on the high side. Got that thing down in there. Don't want to tighten it too much. You don't want to crush the battery. Plus with it, you know, expanding and whatnot, heat. So there's still a little bit of play in it, see? That battery ain't gonna go anywhere. So take the cap off. I do want to put some dielectric grease on there. Hold on. I didn't want to be out here all day today, to be honest with you. This will possibly help against, you know, the crusty stuff showing up. So wipe that on that thing there. Wait till it's on. There we go. $10mm. Use 2 hands to ensure a good connection. Don't go crazy on these clamps. Snug enough, like that. Give it a wiggle. Take the ground side off, or the negative side, or the earth side. Whichever one you want to go with. Tight connection. Then we take this guy here, and he goes over the stud. Plastic, it's weird. Alright. It's nice at work because I have a battery saver that we can use, but there's no battery saver at home, so I wonder how much is going to be reset. That runs a lot better. We got some lights on. Let's see where those go. Clock's wrong. Yeah. But I didn't lose my trip, so that's good. Put 3,653.5 miles on it so far. Alright. I'm gonna have to move it, you know. Are those lights gonna stay on? Yeah, probably. You know, if I'm not mistaken, there was one time I had a CRV, I think, when I was at the other dealership, at the Ford dealership, and it had a bad battery, and it caused all of these lights to stay on until I drove the car. So that's probably what we're gonna have to do. Oh, I did it again, guys. I didn't push record. All right, we're leaving the house. So far, temp's still good. I'm gonna leave the heat on a little bit longer, just in case there's any air elsewhere. Don't know how much I'm going to be able to take of this though. Whew. But we definitely have heat now. Alright, on we go. What a busy freaking day, guys. I mean, did I even have a day off? I probably could have gotten the water pump done a lot quicker if everything, you know, if I had a garage where everything that I need is readily available instead of walking back and forth to the basement and whatnot. But man, I'm whooped. The heat doesn't help. So far so good, by the way. We are still under 200 degrees. Probably at 195 exactly right now. It's amazing. It's good. Alright, so I made the switch to the AC because, man, And the temp went up a little bit. Obviously, we are not using the heater core at this point to cool off the cooling system. Like I said, it's about 90 degrees out here, so it's pretty hot. But 200-ish, that's still pretty normal. I'm not worried about it at the moment. So far, it appears as though everything is running fine. Alright, so we're home now, and that's where it sits. Hasn't really budged. So, pretty normal, especially with the air on. I'm done, so it's been on for quite a while. Let's take one last look and wrap things up. I do see little fresh splatters here, but the AC is also dripping like crazy, so I don't know if maybe the AC is shooting, you know, over to the belt maybe, because I mean it's all wet down there, but you see the new belt's already got lines in it. It feels okay though. Yeah, see that? I'm pretty sure that's the AC line right over here. Or the drain, which we can't see from here, but that's just water. So I wonder if that splashes up a little bit. I do smell coolant, but I also, you know, there's coolant everywhere, or there was. I don't see any coolant. Where's this at? That is just a little below the full mark, so once the system settles, it'll probably come back up. So that should be okay there. I don't see anything around our water pump. So I'm assuming it's all good. Like I said, the situation that took place only happened once. So only time's really gonna tell. Yeah, only time's gonna tell if there's gonna be a reoccurring issue or not. But so far, it looks like it's okay. We'll leave it at that. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, my dearly beloved lives to die another day. This video is pretty long, so we're just gonna cut the crap and end it right here. So thanks for watching. If you guys enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys next time. Thanks again, and take care.